Hey guys. All right, we will get started in just a moment. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if the audio is working. And if so, we will kick this off and get started here. Okay, it looks like we're good. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. Today is November 15th, 2023. And is it a Wednesday, I believe? Yeah, Wednesday today. It was a pretty busy day on Wall Street. We had a bunch of earnings reports, one of which being Target. Target is up, I think, almost 16% after hours. We'll talk about that earnings report. But we also heard from some major cybersecurity leaders, such as Palo Alto Networks, ticker symbol PANW, which I believe is down about 7% after hours after the bell. Now, I was on the earnings call for Palo Alto Networks, and there was a lot of good news, and there was a lot of, I wouldn't say bad news, but I would say things that we were expecting, right? So the CEO of Palo Alto Networks came on the call and said that demand for cybersecurity spending has never been higher. But the problem is, as we know, to use his words, sort of paraphrase here, he said specifically that customers are struggling to deal with the increased cost of money, right? Higher interest rates. And this is something we wrote about in the Behind the Street newsletter, particularly with monetary policy just starting to, work its way through the economy. But one of the things we also wrote about was cybersecurity, that I think you're going to see a lot of companies, right, not only in the United States, but across the globe, they're going to look for particular places in the business to reduce costs and cut costs, right? And they're going to look at their tech stack and they're going to say, look, what is a nice to have piece of software and what is a must have? So this is exactly what companies are doing. And they're saying, look, we need to increase spending on cybersecurity, but the only problem is, we've decided on the fact that we're going to do that. Now we just have to negotiate with these providers, Palo Alto Networks, Zscaler, or whatever the provider is, on how we're going to pay for that service, right? Because the cost of capital is really starting to pinch some of the budgets here at these major tech companies. So we will talk about that. There was according to Palo Alto, there was a 34% increase year over year in cybercrime and cybercrime effectiveness, which is also really putting a lot of pressure on companies, right? So imagine running your day-to-day operations, running your day-to-day business, and then also having to worry about, protecting your own corporate infrastructure from cyber attacks, ransomware, and the like. And if I have to make one prediction, it'd be the following. Now, we only have about a month and a half left of the year. It's kind of crazy to say. And then it's going to be 2024. And that means it's the election year. And if you thought cybercrime and malicious attacks and misinformation and doxing people and bots, spam bots, and propaganda was bad, now just wait until the election year. So one of my predictions is that for 2024, it's really going to need to be all hands on deck here, both from the corporate level and the government level. And I think the U.S. government really acknowledges this, and I would assume that most everybody in the chat would agree, right? There's a lot of foreign entities and foreign actors that would benefit materially from interfering with an election or something like that via cybercrime. So 2024 for me is going to be the year of, hyper alertness for cybercrime, refortifying corporate and government infrastructure, because the amount of cyber attacks is only going to increase, if I had to make one quick prediction. Moving on, another thing that we heard today is retail sales numbers. So we got the retail sales numbers out for October, and we've had a decline in retail sales. Now, is this a forecast of a new trend that is emerging, or is this just a one-off, right? Because we are headed into the holiday season, and usually consumer spending tends to pick up a little bit around the holidays, particularly Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's. So is this a new emerging trend that consumers are sort of taxed? Consumers are gassed. We wrote about this as well. We're starting to see debt balances grow, consumer debt balances, in both household debt, credit card debt, and we're just starting to see an interesting trend in consumer credit delinquencies, both 30-day and 90-day delinquencies and defaults, starting to get back up towards pre-pandemic trend. So we'll see. It was kind of an interesting juxtaposition, wasn't it? Getting lower retail sales numbers, but then having an earnings report from Target where the stock is up 16% after hours. Now, one of the main talking points and main highlights when we talk about Target, right, is the retail shrinkage or the theft, right? And according to the CEO, Mr. Cornell of Target, he actually said, and I quote, "Our consumers are actually responding positively, or they appreciate us locking up all of our items." And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but as I was trying to have an open mind and really think about it, I kind of understand his point. And I really started to understand that as the earnings call progressed, for the following reason. He said specifically that customers, in order to provide customers a good experience, you need to have the products that they love and that they want to buy in stock. And if you walk into a Target and everything is stolen and the shelves are totally empty, well, that's not going to be a good customer experience, right? So with Target taking these precautions, locking everything behind plexiglass, what they've actually seen is that customers are happy because when they go into Target, the items that they want to buy are there. It may be a little bit of an inconvenience waiting for a customer service associate, to walk halfway across the store and unlock those items, but at least you'll know the items are in stock. And I never really thought about it that way. So I think it's important to have an open mind about it. I've been very vocal against sort of locking things up, but at the end of the day, this isn't something Target can control, right? This isn't something Walmart can control, or any big box retailer for that matter. This is a government issue. This is a systemic societal issue, and the only thing that corporations can do is just protect their products, their customers, and their employees by doing the best they can. So it was really interesting hearing that on the earnings call. All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and take a little bit of a walk around Manhattan. Now, I do want to warn everybody, it's pretty windy tonight. Like, it's really windy tonight. So if there's any noise or anything in the microphone, I do apologize for that. The wind came in from out of nowhere, and I think it's because it's supposed to warm up in a pretty big way. Now, on Thursday, which is tomorrow, it's supposed to be 65 degrees, which is cool. So hopefully we'll be having a midday live stream tomorrow, so you never know. Last but not least, yet again, everybody, if you did not receive the Behind the Street newsletter, which is our free financial newsletter that we write for the group here, check your spam folder. And if you want to read all of our archived financial newsletters, just type !news, NEWS, in the chat, and the Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack. So go ahead and click that, punch in your email, and every other Thursday you will be subscribed to receive all of our research for free. Now, last update is that next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we will not be sending out the newsletter on Thursday. Everybody should take the day off, spend some time with your family and your friends and your loved ones. We will be sending out that newsletter on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So if you're expecting it, if you've signed up, I sent out one last Thursday, and then the next one will be next Friday, okay? Because it's Thanksgiving. All right, so let me go ahead and put my briefcase on, and we will get started. And happy Wednesday to everybody. All right, let's go ahead and clip the microphone on, everybody, and we are off. We are reporting live from 59th Street, Columbus Circle. It's a beautiful night out here in New York City, but as always, it is a little bit windy. Hey, Jerome Powell is here. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. I see Mauricio, Brian, Ike, Austin City Limits, DC322, Tech Guy is here. Good to see you. Abdullah, this isn't my real name. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Hawaii is here. Jen Claus, Sally, Brian Forrest, Ann R. Brian M. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Lena Sandoval, Bree Grams, JC, Khalid Muhammad. What's up, Khalid? Good to see you. Frank, welcome everybody. Myra King, Ann R. All right, yeah, let's head out. You know what we should do though? Let's check out Lincoln Center because maybe they have some holiday displays up there at Lincoln Center today. Tony says they raided a smoke shop by my house today in the Lower East Side. 1 down, 85 more to go. You know, we were talking about that the other night. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that conversation. Now, if you've noticed in New York City, there's been a major influx of all of these smoke shops, right? Like the marijuana weed shops and all that. There's pretty much one on every single corner. Now, the crazy thing is this. On Central Park South, guys, they just opened a smoke shop right on the corner of 106 Central Park South. Would you ever expected that in a million years? Crazy. That's actually my old building. It's 106 Central Park South is the Trump Park condos. And essentially what's happening is vacancy is so high in the city, and a lot of businesses are struggling to pay all of these rents. And the only business, I shouldn't say the only, I'm exaggerating. When I say only, this is a big exaggeration, but just for the point of the conversation, a lot of the businesses that could afford to pay these high rents, right, these high retail rents, are these sort of marijuana smoke shops, right? And a developer that I'm dealing with on 23rd Street, I'm actually in charge of selling out the building. It's a 15-unit condominium, and there's one retail storefront available for rent. They launched sales on the building and the rental for the retail in 2020. There's been like no hits on it. The traffic has been so slow, guys. It's been nuts. The only people who have reached out to rent that retail space is, guess what? The weed shops, the marijuana shops. And the funny thing is, when they come in to bid on the space, they always go over ask, right? So as a quick example, let's say if it's priced at $100 a square foot, just for random sake, they'll say, okay, we'll pay $120 a square foot. Because they already know the landlords really don't want to rent to these particular companies, right? Just because it makes the curb appeal not very good. But for some reason, they can always afford the rent. And again, allegedly, it's probably because there's some nefarious activity going on. So when I read that commenter's comment that said, you know, they raided one of the smoke shops, I mean, a lot of these, not all, okay, not all, but a lot, sometimes they're being used as these fronts to, do some shady business. Again, I just want to make it clear, because when we talked about this last time, I got a slew of emails. Not all, okay? Obviously, we don't mean all. We don't want to be generalized, but some of them are. So, hey, Walk with Sean. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Foxing, welcome. Dispensaries, Travelnista, what's up? All right, let's head up towards 66th Street. Yeah, Tony says, wow, never on Central Park South. You really would never think that, right? Central Park South is very buttoned up. But the problem is, a lot of these landlords, particularly in this environment, they're getting very desperate. right? And this is something we've been talking about for a while, particularly with, interest rates going up. And in the commercial real estate business, it's, very, very seldom do you have, long duration fixed rate debt. Usually it's short-term floating rate, and you have to adjust, right? And go find another provider for your debt, or a debt servicer, right? And now it's a completely different world. Interest rates have doubled, if not tripled. Now they've come down a little bit though, right? One of the things we were discussing yesterday is that after Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell had his speech at the FOMC meeting, and I think Jerome Powell is here in the chat, and after specifically CPI, the inflation data that we got out earlier a few days ago. This is the Smith, by the way. I think the outdoor dining looks really nice. But once we got that inflation data coming in better than expected, there was a massive, massive bond buying binge. Tons of cash moving into the bond market, putting pressure on yields to the downside, and stocks took off in a big way. So that actually put some pressure on yields, and the 30-year fixed rate mortgage actually came down a bit. So maybe that will help out, sort of lubricate the market and things like that. But generally speaking, there's very high vacancy in Manhattan. So if you're a landlord and you're facing declining rent rolls and increased capex, well, guess what? You are going to not be feeling well. Let's just say that, and be more prone. Look at this, guys. What is that? Is that a Mustang? Anyway, but you get the point. You'd be more desperate to just take anything you could get. You'll rent to anybody who's willing to pay up, I guess. Alan is here. What's up? I think this is the first time we've seen a Ford Mustang taxi. We've seen a lot of the Tesla EV taxis, but we have yet to see a Ford Mustang, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Tony Beats is the electric Mustang, or the Mach-E. The NYPD started to use them as well. Yeah, they have a couple of them in their fleet right at Columbus Circle, but I think these things look cool. Somebody sent me a clip of the most recent Elon Musk interview on the Joe Rogan Experience, and Joe Rogan was trying to shoot an arrow into the side of the Cybertruck, and didn't really even leave a dent. Now the Cybertruck is, I think it's a little bit overkill. I don't know if anybody needs that, but apparently it's bulletproof. It's pretty much everything proof except the glass. Now you do have an option to get the glass be bulletproof, but then you can't roll down the windows. But crazy, crazy car. Just an incredible, incredible car. Hey, Life, Liberty, and Guns, good to see you. All right, everybody, welcome to Lincoln Center. This is one of my favorite places in all of New York City, and it does look stunning today, and I'm glad they have the fountain on. Brian Amson, I'm a fan of most of the Teslas, not so much the Cybertruck. I don't even think it's feasible to drive them in New York City. I've seen one driving around New York City once. It was probably an employee. This may have been last year when they were having some event. It just looks so big. It looks too big for city driving. I don't even know if it would fit in a New York City parking garage. The thing is so massive. It kind of looks cool, but... Hey, Dan Zhang says, Tom, Joe Rogan's deal with Spotify is coming to an end. His next deal could be a multi-year contract or multi-billion-dollar contract. Yeah, what do you think's going to happen with that? Now, in theory, right, what happens if Joe Rogan just builds out his own platform and just goes direct to consumer? But you know what I think he'll probably do? Maybe the most recent Elon Musk interview was like a precursor of Joe Rogan moving to X exclusively. But then again, I don't know if that would be a good idea because I just don't think they have the infrastructure built out yet. It's a little bit wonky still. Even uploading, 4K video, 60 frames a second, it just doesn't work. It's not good. But, should that be improved, I don't know, maybe Joe Rogan goes over to the X platform? Who knows? Short clips is supposedly you can get sued if you resell your Cybertruck in the first year. I saw that. A lot of people were emailing me about that. Now, why do you think they're doing that, by the way? Do you think they're doing that because they're in such limited supply that a lot of people would just buy them and just try to flip them for money? Something like that? Who knows? Hey, Jonathan is here. What's up? Good to see you. Teresa ID, what's up? What do you guys think of Lincoln Center? Hey, Josephine S says, hey Tom, do you think getting into an Airbnb market would be lucrative or is it oversaturated? It really just depends on the deal. Those kind of questions, of, hey, is this business model a good business model or is this, a good deal? You just got to run the numbers, right? In the real estate business, if the numbers work, the numbers work. If the numbers don't work, then they don't work, right? Now, the biggest thing, if you're interested in buying real estate specifically to be used for an Airbnb, I think where a lot of people make massive mistakes is they don't really do any research on the local municipalities in which they're buying in, right? So they'll buy, for example, in New York City or in Miami Beach, and in locations where they're very, very against short-term rentals. So if you have your whole business model dependent on law, right, or what governments think about it, well, I don't think that's a very sustainable business model. So I Airbnb out my place when I'm not there, but I do it on a 30-day plus increments, right? So the number one thing, if you're thinking about buying a property to exclusively rent it out on Airbnb, before you even run the numbers on the deal, you need to really do some deep research on your local politicians, the local municipality that you're buying in. Are they generally for it? Have there been a lot of complaints in the community against short-term rentals? Like, what is the political climate there? Because in places like New York City, they haven't banned it, but they've made it very, very difficult to do it, right? It's pretty much short-term rentals in the city now are like a month long, if not more. That's pretty much, like, with a few exceptions, right? With very, very few exceptions. So a lot of people who got in trouble, right, just buying single family homes just to exclusively rent them out on Airbnb, they were doing the numbers based upon the inflated, work from home and what is it called? What do they call those people? Those digital nomads paying, $5,000, $6,000 a month to live in, paradise, to work remote. I would say whatever the current going rate is for a lot of those deals, I would underwrite the deal assuming at least 25% less revenue than what your average deal in your community brings in right now. That's how I'd underwrite the deal. Because it'll probably be that, right? Maybe even a little bit less. So, I don't know, any thoughts there? Anybody in the group? I'm sure we have some people who have, either rented out their places on Airbnb or Vrbo, something like that. This is a cool shot of Central Park Tower. And you have 220 Central Park South with the gold top there. Really stunning place here. Anna says Digital Gypsies. I've never heard them being called that. EMV says question relating to Airbnb. Do you think short-term rental market is a bubble or is it here to stay?
Just muscle and bone.
I think there's parts of it that have gotten a little bit frothy, right? There's parts of it that have gotten frothy. Now, the problem that happens with a lot of these operators that get into this business is sort of exactly what I was just saying. They underwrite these deals assuming, oh, let's go up on this thing, it's open. Cool. So a lot of people have been underwriting these deals based upon two conditions. Number one, that interest rates will stay low forever, right? And that obviously didn't happen. And number two, they underwrote these deals assuming that revenues would never go down and rents would never go down. So that's why I say if you're shopping for a deal right now, always build in a buffer. This is a sick view from up here, guys. Look at that. This is Juilliard, by the way. This is one of the best music schools in the world, not only in New York City, but in the entire world. This is so cool. We're on this huge elevated grass space here, overlooking all of Lincoln Center and all of Billionaires Row and Deutsche Bank Tower. What do you guys think? This is cool. Usually they have this closed. But anyway, so not to sound like a broken record, but if you're underwriting a deal today and you're exclusively going to buy the property for short-term rental, look at your comps in the neighborhood, right? And I would even look up listings on Airbnb and try to contact the owners and reach out to them. Say, hey, what is your average revenue a month? Once you collect that data, subtract 25% and use that as your base practice for underwriting. Just to give yourself a buffer. You never want to pencil a deal where it's so razor thin, because then you're going to be stressed out and you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to be feeling well at all. Because guess what? Things are going to break in the home. Somebody's going to clog the toilet and back it up. You have to pay $1,000 for a plumber, right? You may have a bad tenant that throws a party and they put their head through the wall. Now you got to fix the drywall, right? So always put in a very healthy buffer into that so that one unfortunate event doesn't knock you out of the game, for example. But guys, if you're ever near Lincoln Center, you have got to come up on this absolutely gorgeous elevated grass overhang here. This is such a stunning view here. So for some perspective, this is where we came in. We walked up the stairs. Could you imagine sitting out here on an 85-degree summer day? That's amazing. Flat, infinite plane Earth. It says don't pay anyone, fix yourself. Well, it's kind of hard if you're a big operator, right? I mean, if you own 100 units, it's kind of tough to be going around fixing all that stuff yourself. But I get it. I mean, if you're a small operator with only one or two properties, you should learn the skill of being, a handyman yourself. I totally agree. Stephanie says, is it handicap accessible? I don't think so, to be honest. All right, let's head down. But what do you guys think? I'm more interested in what you think. Do you think that there has been some bubble activity or irrational exuberance in the, short-term rental market with people just buying single-family houses purely for speculation purposes? I think there's been some of that. I absolutely do. But I don't think the business model will ever go away. I think Airbnb is a great product. I use Airbnb, right? Both as a customer and on the client side, right, providing a service. It's just a more optimal way to travel if you're on a budget and you have a family, right? I mean, think about traveling in New York City with 3 kids, right? Let's say the age range is from 8 to 15, or maybe even a little bit younger than that. I mean, a hotel, guys, one room at a decent hotel that's not going to be disgusting is like $450, right? So imagine spending 2 weeks in New York City as a family of 5. It's pretty pricey, but you could spend $3,000 and rent out an apartment, right? And stay there for 15 days, 20 days, 30 days. Hey, Alan, what's up? Says, I have such a love-hate relationship with that buffer. I've been a great tenant and I don't cause damage or trouble, but I can't remember a year my rent didn't go up substantially. No, I mean, you're right. And it's not only, building in the buffer for repairs, right? There's a lot of other overhead costs that a commercial real estate operator has to deal with. My biggest expense for my property is taxes. And last time I checked, taxes don't usually go down. If anything, they go up substantially. Also insurance, right? Think about just your taxes and insurance overhead. So if I pay $8,500, right, a year for my property taxes, and then tack on another $4,500 for, insurance, that's ridiculous. That's crazy, right? You're going over $10,000 in just taxes and insurance. So landlords pass that on to the tenant. They don't want to absorb that cost for themselves. Look at this. Hey, Javette Perez says Microsoft has a new chip to compete with NVIDIA. Aren't we hearing from NVIDIA later this week? I think we are. Hey, someone says hello from Korea. Annyeonghaseyo. Annyeonghaseyo to you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Josh asks, the bigger problem is Saudi princes laundering their money by buying New York City real estate and then they sit empty? Not really. I think that's very overblown. You just hear it on the headlines because a lot of people purchase trophy properties, right? Like the $80 million, $100 million properties on Billionaires Row. But as a percentage of the overall float, it doesn't really have an impact on the inflation of rents per se. That is mainly because the city has really horrible laws as it comes to rent controls. Now, technically, there's more than enough vacancy, right, to flood the market with supply. There's actually a lot of apartments that just sit empty, but landlords can't rent them out for a couple of reasons. Number one, they need work, so you got to put a lot of money into them to get rent ready. But if they were to do those repairs, right, let's say you invest 80 grand, you get the apartment rent ready, with the rent stabilization and rent controls, you can't make money on the deal. So the landlord would just rather have the apartment sit completely empty. So there's many, many, many apartments throughout New York City that are, if it wasn't for these really horrible and just quite honestly pointless rent control and stabilization laws, well, that would encourage the investment to get these units rent ready, and there would be a lot more supply on the market. But usually that always happens, right? Anytime the government tries to do something to help, particularly the middle class, usually the policy does the exact opposite. Usually that policy that's enacted to help usually hurts, which is unfortunate. But I'm not diminishing your point, though. Your point stands. That does happen. But as a percentage of the float, very small. And to piggyback off your point, that's why you see a lot of these new developments, almost none of them include affordable housing. Because, just like the Flatiron building, right? There's a lot of outrage right now that the Flatiron building is being turned into, guess what? Luxury condos. And there's people that have no idea about the real estate business or no idea about how things work, they say, oh, these greedy developers, how about making and turning it into affordable housing? Well, then the deal's not going to work. The property's not going to cash flow. You're not going to make any money. And the deals are underwater. So, a lot of these developers are trying to put on deals in Queens, in the Bronx, to say, look, we can allocate 20% of the building to be affordable housing. We can allocate 10%, and the local politicians are like, nope, 100%, 90%. And then the developers are like, well, then that would mean we're going to lose money on the deal. So why would anybody do the deal? But unfortunately, the politicians, particularly the local politicians here, they want to do all the rah-rah, the big bad evil real estate developers and the big bad billionaires, tax the rich. Well, now you have no housing for anybody. And the only people who could live here are extremely wealthy people. So it's either you allow developers to build and allow them to make money, or there'll be no product coming to market, and the product that does come to market will be extremely high-end product, right? Because that's the only way you're gonna, make the numbers work on the deal. So, it's just basic supply and demand. It's very, very basic supply and demand. And that's why New York City real estate tends to retain its value and be a little bit less volatile, actually. Right? If you look at some of these other markets, particularly in Florida, guys, Florida is a very volatile real estate market. Florida goes through these crazy boom and busts. Just look in 2008. One of the things that really saved New York City, particularly Manhattan, I believe, in 2008, is all of the co-ops we have in New York City. Because co-ops have very, very strict laws, very, very strict rules in terms of, I'm sure we have some people in the chat here as we're walking past 15 Central Park West who may own a co-op, right? Maybe you've rented in a co-op before. And the board packages, the interviews, pretty much the financial, it's pretty much like a whole financial audit of your life if you want to buy into a co-op. I think that's really what saved Manhattan residential real estate in 2008. Prices actually didn't go down a whole lot. Where they went down a whole lot were in markets like Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida, in Texas, where people were buying second, third, fourth, and fifth homes, right? You're not allowed, in many cases, to put 5% down on a co-op. Some of them require 50% or more. So, I think in this cycle, you're going to see Manhattan be relatively unscathed. I think you're going to see a larger than normal size correction in some markets in Texas, particularly Austin. And I think Miami, Florida, their condo market, I think is going to correct quite a fair amount. That's at least what I think. I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think that's a fair assessment? Do you agree with that, disagree with that? What do you think could be done to make New York City affordable to live in again? Right? What do you think are some solutions? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Jennifer says New York City does need more low-income housing. I agree. Oh, this is the... Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the taxi cab look a little bit different than this? This kind of looks like a crossover sedan. The other one that was the taxi, it looked a little bit bigger than that, actually. Actually, a lot bigger. But these are the new Ford Mustang Mach-E's that are now in the NYPD. Someone says it's the same. Really? Maybe it's just the color scheme, but the other one looked way bigger. Now this is the question. Do you think this is going to be a real competitor with Tesla? I actually think so. This is the only EV that I actually like the design right here. I think Ford actually did a really good job with that. Looks really good. I think that cop came a little bit too close. That's all right. Josh S. is keep affordable housing and tax foreign investments to roll over those funds to help small landlords make their affordable units rent ready, says Josh. That's an interesting thought. I've never heard that proposition before. Kenny says the Pope signed a deal to buy EV from Germany. I didn't hear that. Interesting. All right, everybody, let's head towards the row here. You can see how beautiful 157 and the Steinway Tower look tonight. Looks absolutely stunning. Turtles says nope, Ford losing millions trying to compete with Tesla. MV says no, I think Rivian is the next competitor to Tesla. Maybe. You know, I take that back actually, because I do like the body style of Rivian. And we always walk past the, oh no, actually no, that's not true. I was thinking of Lucid Motors in Brickell, Miami, not downtown Miami. In Brickell, they have the Lucid Motors showroom. I think that's a much nicer looking car than, what do you call it? The other one that we were just talking about. Dalton says Ford built American. Doesn't Ford build their stuff in Mexico? I think the only American car company that's truly American is Tesla. Yeah, like Tesla is a pure American company. Look, not knocking Ford. I like the product. The new Ford Mustang Mach-E. I think it looks good. Now, speaking of EVs, we always see this one. Now, this is a Porsche. I'm not too sure the exact model, but this is the new Porsche EV. I think the charging section is right here. This is either parked right on 58th Street or Central Park South every night. It's a nice car too. Honest, as I've been seeing more Rivians on the roads. Yeah, we'll see. I think for urban driving, the Cybertruck is just not going to work out. I just don't even think it'll fit in New York City. This is a Model Y. As you know, my Tesla of choice is the Tesla Model X. A little bit pricey, right? About a $100,000 car. But hopefully, as they continue to slash prices, maybe in 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years, it'll be about 20% less. And I think that's probably the Porsche, not the Porsche. I think that's probably the Tesla I'll get, Tesla Model X. Wow, Trax says the 2023 Porsche Taycan, if I'm pronouncing that right. Wow, EMV says Porsche have lost 50% of their value. If you want an EV that is not a Tesla, I think those Porsches are so cheap now and it's time to buy them. So why is that, by the way? I'm not a big car guy. So why did they lose so much value? Why did they lose 50% of their value? I don't get that. I mean, Teslas have lost value too because Elon Musk keeps slashing the prices. Hey, Ken Brockton says, Tom, the starting price of a new Tesla Model S is now under $80K. I think I'd want something bigger though. I want sort of like a crossover. And the X provides that. I don't really want a sedan, but it's just crazy to think that I think the 0 to 60 time is what, under 2 seconds now? Like 1.9, something wild. Hey, Walk with Sean says the new Hyundai EVs look pretty cool on the slightly more affordable end of the market. I'll have to check them out. Chinook Wins says EV replacement battery equals an arm and a leg. Yeah, I guess you'll have to do the math, right? But I mean, think about how much you spend on your regular car with oil changes, things breaking, repairs. I'm sure it probably all evens out. Maybe it doesn't. This is Central Park Tower in 220 Central Park South. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually start these streams at 8:30 p.m. We'd love to have you join us. Hey, Fahim. This is Tom. Is building to own units / houses / whatever to build wealth for low income a thing in New York housing debates? Non-existent over here in Boston? I think it's pretty much non-existent here too. Because construction costs are very high. And to keep it also very simple, there's not a lot of buildable land here in Manhattan, right? I mean, we're literally on an island here. That guy's going way too fast. So that's another big problem too. Manhattan is such a great place. It's quite literally the greatest city on earth. So you have a massive supply and demand imbalance. You have so much demand of people wanting to come here because it's the greatest city on earth. Right? There's so many opportunities. We have some of the greatest, education institutions, right, with our colleges and universities in and around New York City. So that attracts a lot of businesses that want to set up shop in New York City because it's very good for recruiting, right? You have a really, really healthy and educated workforce in and around the New York tri-state metropolitan area. And everybody's slammed into Manhattan, Queens, Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk County. So it's just a land problem. There's no more space, right? And if you're going to build something, you're not going to build out. You're going to build up. All right. So in the distance, you can see the Sherry Netherland Hotel, which looks great. Hey, Juan Fernandez. This is Tom. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? I'm not too sure yet. I'm not too sure. What about you? Now, if the weather's beautiful, maybe, just maybe, I'll go to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Hey, Hawaii, this is Tom. New York City is truly an amazing, spectacular city. That's why I keep visiting every year. I love it. Yeah, it's awesome. Hawaii, we got to get you a place in New York. You got to get like a little pied-à-terre so you can, just jet from Hawaii, hang out at your place, at least get a place here and then, rent it out when you're not using it. Maybe do like a 6-month sublease or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. Abyss says they should build a second Manhattan. Well, that's pretty much what they're trying to do with downtown Brooklyn, right? I mean, think about how much downtown Brooklyn has changed over the years. Downtown Brooklyn extending all the way to Dumbo. That's expensive stuff now, guys. That's not really affordable. People would say, oh, I'm going to go to Brooklyn because I want to save money in rent, right? Well, that's still true for some neighborhoods. But if you think about downtown Brooklyn extending all the way to Dumbo, you're not moving there to save money on rent, right? You're moving there because you want to be there. You're moving there for all of the, great things it has to offer. Apartments, in and around downtown and Dumbo. Well, I'm not too sure. Now, speaking of Target, did anybody see the retail sales numbers we got out? Anybody see that? Now, retail sales declined going into the holiday season. Now, if you remember what I wrote about 3 weeks ago now in the Behind the Street newsletter, Q1 of 2024, mainly because of some different leading indicators that we could look at, particularly coming out of the financial earnings of a lot of the credit card issuers and major banks. What we're starting to see is credit card balances, personal loans reach all-time record highs, right? So balances on credit cards are growing astronomically, reaching an all-time record high. You could look at this, it's for free. Oh, there's a jewelry store that's in here. This used to be vacant. Very strange and like a knick-knack store, but for very rich people. I'm sure you guys have seen those type of stores before. Like you'll have these really weird-looking monuments, like a huge 7-foot-tall knight with all his armor. Like people buy them for their apartments. Anyway, it was vacant for a while. So anyway, what I was saying is you're starting to see consumers become a little bit stressed here. And if you look at Citibank's or Citigroup's earnings report, if you look at JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, the one thing that they've all had in common is that consumer credit card delinquencies are starting to climb back up to pre-pandemic trend that we've seen in Q4 of 2019, right before the big C hit, right? So if you want to read that article, if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the newsletter and you can read it for free. But let's cross over here by this restaurant and let's check out 58th Street on the back side of the Park Lane Hotel, because they just totally redid this hotel. But what do you think? Is this a one-off in consumer spending and retail spending declining? Or do you think this is going to be a trend going into the holiday season and really exacerbate in Q1 of 2024? Are consumers tapped out here? Are we going to start to see 2-month trend, 3-month trend, 4-month trend of consumer spending and consumption declines? I don't know. So here it is. This is the Park Lane Hotel. Now, during the pandemic, they completely remodeled the interior, and they did a great job. This is a nice hotel. If you're looking for a really good place to stay when you're in New York City, this hotel is very nice now. And you pretty much have unobstructed views of Central Park, which is nice from those rooms. Shams is there. Has been an increase in 401k emergency withdrawals. That is also not a good sign. I've seen that as well. That is also not a good sign. But I think the biggest concern is the following. You're starting to see debt balances grow at a time when it's the most expensive to carry consumer debt, because consumer debt is the most expensive type of debt, right? I mean, what's the average APY on a credit card? Almost 20%. So, compounding interest works both ways, folks. And if you carry a big balance on a credit card, and as interest rates go up, and as the Fed funds rate goes up, well, guess what? Your APY on your credit card is also probably going to go up. Okay, this is the Shops at the Plaza. This looks really nice. They decorated it fantastic for the holidays. Raj says, can you take us in the lobby of the Park Lane? I don't think they allow filming, unfortunately. I've tried before and they've sort of ran us out of there. Whoa, look at this. I really like this building. Vinny says auto loan defaults are near an all-time high as well. That is very true. And another crazy thing that I was reading in the journal, let's see what they're putting up. Maybe there's a cool show that's about to come to town. That the average car payment now is over $900 a month. To me, that's just insanity, right? A lot of people talk about how it's insane that, people in New York City spend $5,000 a month on rent, right, for a one-bedroom apartment. I think that's more crazy to spend $900 a month on a vehicle. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not a big car guy, but I don't know, what would you say? What is more crazy? Paying $5,000 a month in rent or having a $900 to $1,000 car note? What do you think? Sunshine says, what is your thoughts on cashback cards? Would you use them? Well, I mean, I wouldn't specifically go out and use a card for the purpose of I'm going to get a little bit of cash back or something like that. But I mean, I have an American Express business card that I use for just business expenses, and I think it gives back like a percentage of something and gives points. But I mainly use it, you know why, guys? I think it comes with Clear for free. Does anybody here utilize Clear, by the way? So Clear is kind of like a TSA pre-check, but it's not TSA pre-check. So when I go to the airport, all I do is I just scan my eyes on the little scanner at Clear, and then I could skip the line. And I think that's about $150 a year, but with the card, I think they give you a statement credit of $150. I mean, if I didn't have the card, I think that service is totally worth $150 a year. I mean, particularly if you fly a lot, I mean, that's a really, really good deal. Thoughts on that? Does anybody use Clear or TSA pre-check? What do you guys think? Vinny says, yes, Clear is free with American Express. Fahim says, where are subprime loans in relation to consumer spending these days? Wall Street Journal was flashing warning signs 2 years ago. Well, subprime, if you want to talk about subprime mortgage loans, there's actually probably not a lot of those, right? Because one of the things that the government did well and banks did well after the great financial crisis is they've really tightened up their underwriting standards, like in a big way, right? So one of the things that was so bad, and the reason why the financial crisis was so bad is because leading up to that, you could say, hey, I want to buy this house. And there was such poor and egregious underwriting. No income verification, barely any credit check. And they were handing out loans like hotcakes to people that they knew wouldn't be able to pay, right? To top it all off, many of these loans or these mortgages were ARMs, right? An ARM, ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. And there's been even some lawsuits out there that allege that some mortgage bankers or mortgage brokers were not telling their customers or their clients about their adjustable rate. They were just pushing the product on them, and saying, yeah, your payment may increase a little bit as interest rates go up, but they weren't fully disclosing the product to the consumer. Now, should consumers have known better? I generally say yes, but I think it's the duty and responsibility of the bank, if you're providing a service or a product to customers, to make sure that you inform your clients and your customers on what you're selling them, right? I think that's a major, major ethics violation if you don't. I don't know, at least that's how I operate. But there's not a lot of that stuff going on even at all really anymore, which is good. That's a good thing. We don't want another 2008 financial crisis. Dale says, Tom, I just used TSA PreCheck. Hawaii says, I have TSA PreCheck but not clear. Gina Thomas says, I use both. JC says, how does Clear know if you're not a terrorist? Well, again, they scan your irises and you get uploaded to some government database, right? I'm assuming it all goes to the FBI. It's the same thing if you want to buy a gun, right? When you walk in and you try to buy a gun at like a Walmart or something, they give you a background check and that gets sent to the FBI. And the FBI knows everything. They know if you're up to no good. I mean, at least I hope. I mean, I put trust in the FBI to keep us safe. I mean, maybe I shouldn't, but hey, Lee says global entry includes TSA PreCheck. Now, sometimes at JFK, and this is why, you know what? I made a new rule for myself. I think this will be a fun question for the chat. If you guys have to fly, what time do you choose to fly? Are you a more like extremely early first flight out, or do you fly late at night, or it just doesn't matter? For me, what I've noticed is I try to take the last flight out. So from now on, I'm gonna try to get like a 10 p.m., 11 p.m. flight. The airports are radio silence. I did that the last time I flew from Miami International to JFK. I got to Miami International Airport like 30 minutes before my flight. I was running super late. I coasted through the airport. I gotta try it at JFK. I'm either gonna take the first flight out, actually maybe not, because that's when all the business travel is. I think the last flight out for the day is probably the best. 42 says late at night. Sunshine says I always fly around noon. Wow. Raj says, Tom, take the last flight out too. Morning and midday is too chaotic. I think that's going to be my new go-to. Now, here's the thing. You take a gamble with that, right? That's the one thing I'm concerned about. Because if that flight that takes off at 11 o'clock is delayed or canceled, you're totally screwed, right? But during the day, if you have like a 1 p.m. flight, and if your flight's canceled, chances are you could just get on another flight same day. You know, at 11 o'clock, you're going to have to be sleeping in the airport, I guess. All right, everybody, this is Madison Avenue. We're back at work. My office is here to the left, 575 Madison. I think this is my favorite office location now. I kind of like being on the east side a little bit. I'm moving to New York next year and looking to rent. How many times the rent do landlords look for? They look for 40 times the rent, generally speaking. Yeah, about 40 times the rent. If you don't have a guarantor, or if you don't make 40 times the rent, you can have a guarantor that needs 80 times the rent. But a lot of people in New York City, I don't know how old you are, but a lot of people in New York City live with roommates. So if you're just graduating college and you're like 22 years old, if you're a kid, maybe live with roommates. You know, your share of rent will probably be like $1,500. You know, you'll all be on the lease. That's, you know, one way that a lot of people do a workaround. And then save up some money, and in 3 to 4 years, you know, then get your own place. So if you need help, send me an email. And I will try to help you out the best I can. All right, everybody, this is the beautiful, the one, the only 432 Park Avenue. Look at that. Stunning. Now, in the next edition of the Behind the Street newsletter, usually at the very bottom of the newsletter, I put out, you know, one of our newest listings. I think you guys are really gonna like our newest listing. Well, I don't want to jinx it, but what's most likely going to be featured in the Behind the Street newsletter is an incredible listing that, fingers crossed, hope we get it. That's going to come to market very soon, probably late Q1 of 2024. I won't give any hints. I'm not going to give you guys any hints. You know, I don't really like to give any hints. I always, you know, keep things really, you know, tight, under wraps. So we'll see. Oh, look at that rat. Where'd he go? Just like disappeared. Ooh, man, that's one thing that I... Okay, that's the downside of living in New York City, guys. You definitely have a lot of those friends all over the place. So one thing I've noticed, this is the sort of common space that's open to the public at 432. And they've taken down all of the seating area. There's no more tables and there's no more chairs. I wonder why they did that. You know, usually I come out here and have lunch. This is open to the public 24/7, but they've most recently taken down all these chairs. I don't know why. Maybe, hopefully they're getting new ones. Who knows? I know, Jen Clausy's like, he's definitely not starving. Let's check out what they got on the other side of Park Avenue. But if you guys want to see that listing, if you type !news, N-E-W-S in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack, which is our free financial newsletter. And then at the very, very bottom, we always have a featured listing here at the Kirsten Jordan team at Douglas Elliman. Now this is a cool building. This is 425 Park. This is one of the newest Class A office towers in Manhattan. And not too far down the road, we are going to get another major, major office building, which is Jamie Dimon's office building, 270 Park, which is going to be all the way down here to the right. I kind of like the more classic style Park Avenue buildings though. The brick and mortar, I think it looks a little bit more Park Avenue. All right, this is definitely not an EV. This is the Aston Martin showroom. Echo echoes as I am still silently screaming about the rat. It was huge, it galloped away. It did not scurry, it galloped. Oh, if you think that is big, you ain't seen nothing yet, pal. Are you kidding me? You thought that thing was big? That was a teeny little guy. I mean, we have, quite literally beagle-sized rats in this city. That was like, AAA baseball. If you want to see some Major League Baseball, MLB, I mean, I could show you, but I don't want to show you today. Yeah, that was like, the C string. That's not even the A line. Hey, Sharon, what's up? Good to see you. This is Evening Tom. Love the new channel logo. Oh, that's right. Did I mention that? So if you've noticed, we have a new logo for Walks in Wall Street. And it was actually created for us by one of our viewers. That is a very, very talented designer. She sent me the logo. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I'll use it, 100%. So we have a new logo for the stream and the newsletter. Let's take a walk down Park Avenue. It's quiet. I like quiet. Hey, Walk with Sean says, love it. It looks very classy. It stands out great on Substack. Yeah, I really wanted it to be timeless, right? Something that fits the brand Walks in Wall Street. I wanted it to kind of look like the Wall Street Journal, that font. That it'll still be relevant in 10 years, if you're reading the newsletter in 10 years from now. So I think she did a great job. Hold on, let me see one thing. Hey, Felix S. is my daughter, just graduated and has 3 roommates in a small 4-bedroom place in Manhattan. $4,500 a month, split 4 ways, way up on 145th Street and Broadway. Wow, that's way up there, man. That's way, way up there. But yeah, a lot of people go way up there to like the Heights. I think they could probably find something further down, but yeah, 145th Street, depending on, where they work, things like that, that is a big hike up there. But hopefully they like it. I mean, if they're happy with it, that's great. This is the Ferrari showroom here on Park Avenue. Very conveniently placed in clear sight of all of the bankers and hedge fund managers. So Citadel Securities' Ken Griffin has a corner office right here somewhere. So as he's looking down, he can keep his eye on some of his potential new toys, I guess. Oh yeah, that's right, Octane says the Formula One race is this weekend, right, in Vegas? Hawaii, did you see any of that being set up for the Formula One? Now that is like a really, really expensive sport. I think those cars could be worth over $1 million just for like what the cars that these guys drive. And the tickets to go to it are expensive too. It's mainly just like an elitist networking event pretty much. It's cool. Hey, I'd go if I had the money. I'd definitely go for sure. Wow, Vinny says that red Ferrari from last week sold for $51.7 million at auction. Holy crap, dude. That's insane. What was it, like a one-of-one original? Tony says, how many steps do you average a day? I think right around 25,000 steps a day, I think we average. Sham says they are charging $5,000 for a 1-bedroom near me. Yeah, I mean, just it really depends on the one. I think I saw somebody else's question that said, so if the rent is $5,000, in order for you to rent that, you need to make 40 times 5,000. So right around $200,000 a year. Yes, that is correct. Hold on.
43rd, in between first and second. Oh, no, yeah.
All right, let's cross here by the Seagram building. Oh, what a perfect timing, guys. Look at this. So this is one of the main reasons why the Seagram building is my favorite office building in Manhattan. Now, it's about 90% vacant though. And I think their loan is about to roll over. So I think they may have some trouble here. Hopefully they sort that out. But during the summer, you have these two really nice fountains that are gorgeous. I mean, you guys must have seen it over 1 million times as we've been doing these streams. But during the holidays, heading towards Christmas, they have probably 50 real Christmas trees or pine trees inside these fountains. And the smell is unbelievable. It smells so good. So if you're in the city and you want to look at something really cool, come to the Seagram building, and in each one of these fountains every year, they make sort of a pyramid of Christmas trees. You can see the taller ones are in the middle, with the little ones being on the side. What do you guys think? It smells amazing here. And they have them on either side. Yeah, they always do a great job here. I think they did a little bit better job on this side. You can really see how it's like a pyramid. It goes, looks good. And that building that's being built, it's about to be topped out actually. That is 270 Park. JP Morgan Chase, their brand new home. It kind of acts as like a big air freshener for Park Avenue. You know, we probably have about 70 pine trees on 52nd Street, and it really makes the entire block smell like pine. So if you're a fan of that, if you like the smell of pine, come on over to 52nd Street. Now this is KPMG, but they've moved recently to the Hudson Yards. A lot of corporations have been moving to the Hudson Yards. Also, BlackRock now has their headquarters in the Hudson Yards as well. Alan says, did you say last night we would do a deep dive into Home Depot's earnings? I did. We're going to have to move that to tomorrow night just because I've been so busy. But Home Depot had decent earnings. But we'll do our deep dive tomorrow. I was hosting a major event, not a major event, but an event at one of our buildings. Gramercy North. This is Blackstone, Stephen Schwartzman. 139 East 23rd Street. Yeah, when you're the host of an event, it's kind of tiring. In all of my other careers, I never really, I took clients out to dinner, but not like host events, checking people in, making your rounds, making sure people are happy. Hey, thank you for coming. Oh my gosh, thank you for coming. It's kind of takes a lot out of you. I never really thought it would, actually. This is a cool little design here. Anna says, are you still in tech sales? I am not anymore. I spent about a decade of my life in tech sales. Now I'm in the real estate business. So if you've ever seen the show $1 Million Listing New York, the first female cast member, the first female broker to be cast on $1 Million Listing, Kirsten Jordan, I work for her and her husband. Her husband is a very notable real estate developer from Italy. He has a small private equity firm, so I'll be helping and assisting with him, and then selling luxury real estate in New York City and expanding to South Florida in Q1, which we're very excited about. I'm looking forward to spending more time in South Florida, but I got to ramp up the business down there. This is the 6 train, 51st Street. Yeah, Jen Claus says, I've seen that show, I love it. Now, they canceled the show due to COVID, right? Oh man, I can't say that word. Due to, the pandemic. But there are some rumors that something may be happening with that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to bring back the show. I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. But I've heard maybe there's going to be something new and exciting. You never know. You never know. All right, let's head down. Let's go into Grand Central Station because it's getting a little bit windy here. Anna says, wow, why the switch? Well, I did really well, and I sold my book of business, and I want to develop buildings. I want to develop very unique and interesting buildings in Manhattan and South Florida. And every time that I've been sort of successful in a field, it was when I was taking the opposite side and bucking the trend. And I think at the turn of a business cycle, there's going to be a lot of pain in the real estate sector, particularly commercial real estate. So I think there's going to be a lot of mispricings in the marketplace. And I think a lot of very, very good properties are going to trade at fire sale discounts. And I think there's going to be like some amazing opportunities, particularly for commercial operators, right? Because a lot of these buildings are good buildings, right? They're in Manhattan. But as you can kind of see here, I mean, look at this one. This is all vacant. This is all vacant. This vacancy is high, and commercial operators are sitting on big debt balances that are going to need to roll over. And they're going to roll over at significantly higher interest rates. So you're going to have higher operating expenses, all while you have some of the lowest rent rolls in history. So those are going to go into foreclosure. And there's already foreclosure sales taking place on buildings that had, let's say, about 85 million worth of bad debt on it. And they're selling at auction for 35 million bucks. That's a smoking deal, right? Now, a lot of people say, oh, no, it's not. New York City's never going to, come back. Look, if you can get an 85 million, if it was about $85 million worth of debt on it, it was probably $150 million building. Some operators are picking them up for 35 million now, right? If you put some work into it, maybe do a conversion, or if you can get it rezoned and you could put some units on the top, like condo units on top, those deals will work, right? So out of the sort of chaotic decline in commercial real estate, which I think we're going to get, it's going to be the best thing that ever happened in New York City, because you're going to get newer product, you're going to get remodeled product, and lower prices, right? The reason why the rents are so high now is because landlords need to pay increasing property taxes, they need to pay increasing insurance, and they have increasing costs in their debt, right? Money is more expensive. So as a new chapter passes and these units go back to the banks and get sold at auction, it essentially resets the cycle, right? They'll be sold at more affordable valuations to people that are better capitalized, that can refurbish, remodel, and maybe even convert a lot of these buildings. And, it's essentially the turn of a business cycle, right? Everybody wants to get involved, and everybody wanted to get involved in the real estate business when money was free, right? 0%. And everybody wants to get out of it when there's no deals being done, right? Transaction volume is falling off a cliff. And I wrote a thesis about this in the newsletter. I'm not sure if you got that newsletter. If you want to read it, it's on our Substack. You could type !news, NEWS, in the chat, and the Nightbot will drop the link to our free financial newsletter. So all the concepts and the core topics we talk about, I email it out to everybody every other Thursday. So if you want to sort of stay up to date with that, all of it is there, right? So if you miss a stream, everything is there. And you can listen to it in the audio version. So I don't know, I think people who are well capitalized and who have significant savings during a down cycle, if you can stick it out through the really tough times, I think that's when big fortunes are made. That is when you have an opportunity to really, make those big jumps and level up, right? It kind of reminds me of that call that Warren Buffett made in 2010. Now, Warren Buffett made an appearance on CNBC in 2010. Does anybody remember this? And I have to log off in a second here, but check this out. Warren Buffett said, look, if I had the means to buy, 100,000 single-family homes in the United States, I'd do it. We just don't have any means of doing that. He said that in 2010. Everybody was like, you're crazy. Who would buy a single-family home in 2010? The prices have crashed, the housing market has collapsed. Why would you want to get in the real estate business and buy single-family homes? Well, if Warren Buffett went through with that and bought 100,000 single-family homes for Berkshire Hathaway, those would be, well, we already know what they would be. Oh, look at this. This is a camera. You can see us on the sidewalk. That's us. That's cool. Anyway, in the hedge fund business, there's something called crowdedness. And when everybody is on the same side of the trade and when everybody's talking about the same trade, the probability to generate alpha from that trade is very low, right? So the more crowdedness you have in a trade, your likelihood to generate outsized returns, or alpha, as they call it in the industry, declines. But when you have an edge, maybe you can call it contrarian, not contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian, but being a calculated contrarian, right? And if you could play the long game, I believe that's how, you produce outsized returns. I don't know. Guys, look at how cool this shot is here. You have the American flag, greatest country in the world, greatest city in the world, and you have the Chrysler building in the background. Look at that. I wish this building wasn't in the way. That would be a perfect shot. Still a good shot though, but let's see if we can get it from the other side. Let me just make sure my battery's not going to die. No, we're good. We got a couple minutes. Hey, Carol H., what's up? Carol, it's good to see you. Happy almost Thanksgiving. I'll be down in Miami soon. December 1st, hopefully. Maybe I'll spend a week and a half. 2025, my goal is to do 6 months in New York, 6 months in South Florida. I just can't do that yet, not yet. But we are opening an office in Mid-Beach, Miami. Well, our team is expanding there. Look at that. What do you guys think? Chrysler Building or Empire State Building? Which one? If you had to pick one of these amazing Art Deco buildings, would it be this one, the Chrysler? Or do you think the Empire still wins out? I think I'm saying the Empire too. I'd say Empire still. I mean, Chrysler Building is a beautiful building, but you can't really compare anything to Empire State Building. Yeah, Kimberly's like Empire, Hawaii, Carol H. I'm going to try to look for the comments who say Chrysler. I think we have one. Let me see, I could have sworn I saw it. Arava says Chrysler. I'll take you guys in the lobby. Joseph Hardaway, what's up? Hey, Brad's brain. Brad, what'd you think about consumer spending data today? Consumer spending declines. All right, now this is really, really classic Art Deco stuff here, guys. So this is sort of in the walkway or the lobby of the Chrysler building. Looks like there's some art exhibit here. Maybe like a temporary art exhibit. Brad's brain says recession. Now, Brad, Target reported earnings today. Stock was up 16% after hours. And the CEO, I wouldn't say the CEO changed my perspective on, the theft situation and them locking things behind glass. But he made an interesting point on the earnings call. We reviewed this before, but I think we'll quickly review it again. He said that customers are actually responding well to us locking up the entire store behind plexiglass, right? Now, many people, including myself, said, look, if you lock everything up behind the plexiglass, that's going to be a big inconvenience for me, right? And that means I'm not going to want to shop at your store. But the biggest feedback they've been getting from customers is the following. More items that customers know and love are in stock more often. And when customers have their products that they love, that they want to buy all the time, that are always in stock every time they go to the store, they buy more product and it gives them a good experience. What wasn't a good experience is when all of these, derelicts would go and ransack the store and steal everything, and then you'd mosey in the store wanting to just do your shopping. You're like, oh, there's no products here because everybody stole everything. That's not a good experience. So we said, is it an inconvenience, right, to lock everything behind plexiglass? Yes, but customers are a little bit okay with it because at least when they go to the store, they have inventory and they have their products. And this actually reflected a little bit in their gross margins. Now, sales weren't the best. And I think where Target does a good job, and we've spoken about this before, is they have really good online shopping. They have great online and in-store pickup. And their website is good, right? People buy a lot of their products online. But that kind of changed my perspective a little bit, because at the end of the day, corporations can only do so much. The theft issue is not a Target issue per se. It's more of a systemic government issue to enforce the law, right? And a systemic societal issue, right? They're just trying to protect their assets. They're just trying to protect their product. So again, I don't know. Maybe that's just him trying to save face for locking everything up. But I think the answer was actually, I was satisfied with that answer. It makes sense, right? If you walk into the Target, everything is going to be behind glass, but at least all of the products that you need are going to be in stock. They're not going to be stolen. So, I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts about that? Brad's brain says, I think he's off base, thinking I'll treat plexiglass as the new normal. I've already left those stores. Yeah, I mean, look, I've been shopping more online too. But my experience comes from New York City, where it's impossible to shop when things are behind plexiglass because there's so many customers and there's only so many employees to tend to and open up the plexiglass. Someone says Sephora is locking up their perfumes due to stealing. Victor says, I don't think you can believe a word those retailers say. It's all a spin. Maybe it is. Maybe it is all a spin. But I was surprisingly satisfied with that response because I never thought about it like that. I'm just being honest. I never thought about the situation like that. Because very seldom do I actually do like targeted shopping. Some people in the country, they have their brands that they like. They have their products that they like, right? I would assume people that have kids are probably a little bit more structured with their shopping. I'm not. I just go in and grab things that I need and I don't really worry about what the brand is. But so to me, it kind of satisfied the question. But again, it could just be, again, a spin to your point. No way. Someone says they saw steaks locked up. Hey, this is the New York Daily News building, completed in 1930. Someone says Walmart is locking up the food. I haven't heard that. I didn't see that one. Daniel says BS as usual. The paying customer is screwed. No, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Daniel, at all. The only thing that I can sort of sympathize with is at the end of the day, like Walmart, Target, CVS, they're not local government, they're not state government, and they can't enforce laws, right? So they can't just let their stores be ransacked. So the only solution that they can provide is just to lock things up. But look, Target announced that they're closing down this store on 116th Street in Manhattan. They've closed tons of stores in San Francisco. So I think there's going to be a change. If communities say, hey, there's no drugstores in my community, what the heck is going on? That's not going to go over well. And, we'll see. But guys, we do have to end it there. But I will see you all tomorrow right here live on Walks on Wall Street. Once again, if you want to read our free financial newsletter, all you have to do is just type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat. Click the link to our Substack, and if you miss a live stream, everything you missed will be put together for you, served up on a silver platter in our newsletter. We will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be downtown in Lower Manhattan, hopefully. And enjoy your Thursday, everybody. So Juan Fernandez, thank you so much. Everything in Miami, appreciate it. Greg, Vinny, Hawaii, Pup. Enjoy, the tail end of the week here. There's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. We'll see you guys soon. Take care, good night, and God bless the United States of America.